Welcome back. At the top of the news, we told you that the Supreme Court will rule on the Vybz Kartel's habeas corpus application, potentially impacting his detention status ahead of a pending retrial for murder. And now for a better understanding of what will be happening at the Supreme Court today. The habeas corpus application was filed by Vybz Kartel's attorneys about 2 weeks ago. And so the verdict is being anticipated. Joining us now to help us understand what this application is about and the possible results from today's hearing is Attorney at Law Lloyd McFarlane. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Carlin.
Right. So we want to first ask you to help us better understand what is a habeas corpus application.
The whole principle of habeas corpus has been around since Magna Carta in England. That was when certain nobles and so on wrestled certain rights from the king. And one of those rights was that no person would be detained or imprisoned without lawful justification. In other words, essentially, you should be charged with something or you should be released. We have been using the application or writ for habeas corpus for as long as our courts have been in existence. And what normally would happen is that if someone was arrested by the police and was thrown into some police station, some lockup, and not brought before the court within a reasonable period of time, his lawyer would then make an application for a writ of habeas corpus, which essentially says, bring him before the court and release him or show why he should not be released. In that event, the police would have to come forward and say something like, well, he's been held for identification period or something pending some charge, and the judge would then make a ruling. In our case, in relation to, although Kartel and others were charged with murder, tried and convicted, when the matter went to the Privy Council in England, the conviction or the convictions were quashed. But the Privy Council did not actually dismiss the charges. They have sent it back to the Court of Appeal to decide whether or not there will be a new trial ordered or the Court of Appeal will dismiss. So what has happened is that with that situation of what the defense lawyers for Kartel called a lacune, they have made made an application to have Kartel and the others released from prison on the basis that, look, if his conviction was quashed, why is he still being held? On what legal basis are they actually now being held? The problem that the Kartel lawyers have is that, as I've said, the charges were not dismissed. So it may well be that the court will decide, well, look, he's still properly subject to charges until those charges are dismissed. So we will see what the court will have to say.
Actually, I wanted to ask, what are the possible outcomes from today?
Well, the possible outcomes from today are essentially, well, the most likely outcome is that the judge who is dealing with the matter will say, well, let us wait and hear what the full panel Court of Appeal says will happen to the matter. In the meantime, the writ of habeas corpus application may well be denied pending the outcome of what the full Court of Appeal will say. So if the Court of Appeal says the charges are dismissed, then the matter becomes entirely moot. If the Court of Appeal says, look, we are now going to order a new trial, then the matter must go through the same processes as any other matter where charges are before the court. In other words, they will be going back before the Home Circuit Court. Applications for bail can be made at that time, and at that time, the DPP's office will look to see what type of case they will have to present. In other words, it's going through the whole process over again.
So let's just say I just want to ask you to reinforce this for me. Let's say it's denied, the appeal is denied. What can the lawyers do? Can they appeal?
In terms of the habeas corpus application?
Yes, sir. If the decision is that the application is denied.
Well, a habeas corpus application is a specific type of remedy that is sought. And ordinarily, because they have actually gone to the Court of Appeal in terms of making it. And because the Court of Appeal is in charge of the matter, there really is nothing else to do but to wait to hear what the Court of Appeal says on the outcome of everything else.
And if granted, how soon could things, become natural, a natural flow?
Well, it really is going to be a matter of what the Court of Appeal orders in relation to whether or not there should be a new trial. It really comes down to just waiting on what the Court of Appeal would say.
So on June 10, there will be another court ruling. Explain the difference there in comparison.
Well, what has happened here is that the lawyers, in making and asking for the habeas corpus, did not have to go through to the full court. A single judge of the court could handle that and make a determination on that. But on June 10th, you say is the date. That is when the full court will hear everything in relation to the arguments, essentially, that there should be no retrial order. That is really the nub of everything. Because if the Court of Appeal decides that no retrial should be ordered because of the length of time the matter has gone on or anything else, that is the end of the matter. If the Court of Appeal, however, says we are ordering a new trial, and the Court of Appeal may well take that position because it is noteworthy that the Privy Council could have dismissed the charges, but the Privy Council itself would not be able to order a new trial. The fact that the Privy Council sent it back to the Court of Appeal to make these determinations would suggest that the Court of Appeal is likely to order a new trial.
Just before you go, sir, and thank you so much again for joining us. Of course, we do have a full audience at this time. Is there anything you would want to say to Jamaicans otherwise?
Well, we should have confidence in our court system and our judges, and I'm sure that they will take into account fully all along the evidence that is available and make a proper decision on that.
Thank you once again, Attorney at Law Lloyd McFarlane.
You're welcome.